It's a good thing to have money saved. I mean, we sometimes do want to cover emergencies. We sometimes do want to have money saved for specific goals. However, we tend to sometimes save a bit too much in cash. Thereby, we end up losing our money to inflation and just losing capital power over time. Another good example of what we do is we tend to leave some money in our brokerage accounts or maybe our investment accounts, and then we set a plan to invest this money, say, at some point later in the future. But then as we go about our daily activities, we end up forgetting that our money is in that account, and then we do not invest it. Thereby, that money just sits there in a non-bearing interest account, losing money to inflation, and we even forgetting to put the money to use. The excess money that we have outside of our savings for emergencies or for specific short-term goals should be put into interest-bearing accounts such as high interest savings account, CDs, and brokered CDs, which is exactly what I'll be talking about in this video. In this video, I'll be covering what brokered CDs are, how you can invest in them and find them, and the benefits over the regular bank CDs, which I've actually covered in some of my videos on this channel. So if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe and like and all that good stuff. If you have questions, leave them below. I will try to respond to them when I'm able. With the federal funds rate around 5.25%, one of the things that we should always make sure our money does is to stay in interest-bearing accounts that can at least keep up with the Fed's funds rate. If not the same, at least close to it. As we know, the Federal Reserve still plans to increase interest rates, and that means that our borrowing capacity would keep getting more expensive. But at least if we have some cash saved, well, we can at least let that money work for us. A CD, which is a certificate of deposit, is one of the ways in which we can let that money work for us without exposing it to too much risk. And you can think about a CD as a loan that you give to a bank that is then lent out to people, the bank, to run its business, right? Because they lend the money out and then they make more money on it, but then they pay you a certain percentage, way more than what you get on a savings account. And this is where brokered CD comes in. A brokered CD is offered by brokerage firms, in which a bank will have a lump sum that then is distributed to different brokerage firms, and these brokerage firms can then offer it to their customers. Currently, brokered CDs are being offered with as high as 5.5% interest on them. And this is something that you can hardly get with a high interest savings account. Some CDs will pay annually, some CDs will pay semi-annually, some CDs pay every month. It all depends on the type of CDs that you invest in. The goal here is to preserve our capital so that it's not lost to inflation over time. So what are the advantages of a brokered CD over a traditional CD or a bank CD? With the CD, traditional CD, the offering is only what you get. Whatever the bank is offering at the moment is what is available to you. Some will offer 6 months, some will offer 9 months, some will offer 12 months, 48 months, it all depends. But with a brokered CD, you tend to see a lot more options of maturities. It can go from 1 month to 3 months, some can be from 6 months to a year, some can be a year to 10 years, some can be 20 years or even more. And this is where the benefit of brokered CDs are over the traditional CDs. The other benefit of brokered CDs over the traditional bank CDs is that they can be sold on the secondary market. Give you a good example of this. If you invested in a CD with a bank, then you can't sell it until maturity. Or if you choose to withdraw your money, you're hit with a penalty and you would lose some money. On the other hand, with a brokered CD, you can actually sell your CD to someone else that wants to buy the CD. So you can, just like how you sell your shares, you can pretty much exit your CD even before maturity and be sold to someone else. Now, the values of your CD may change, but you are not hit with that penalty of selling the CD right away. Big benefit also again is FDIC insurance. Now, with a traditional bank CD, you are FDIC insured up to $250,000 with one bank. With a brokered CD, because you stand a chance of being able to invest with multiple CDs with different banks, then you can actually almost divest your risk in a way, in such a way that you are not fully invested in one, say, CD and it's worth 250,000. But let's say you have a brokerage firm and you have multiple CDs in it. All these banks, as long as you do not have more than 250,000 with one particular bank, all of your assets in those CDs will be protected. Last but not least benefit is the access to multiple offerings, multiple options from different banks, all in one account. It's not going to be easy to go around shopping for the CDs if you were to be going to each website, finding the interest rates, and trying to compare with another website of another bank, and then trying to shop around. But with a brokerage firm that offers brokered CDs, all you need to do is, it's like a one-stop shop where you can then buy different CDs in one account. By the way, if you're finding value in this video, please do not forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe as well. I would love to keep sharing this information, and that's how I get to know that you guys find value in it. Since we've covered the advantages, now let's talk about some of the risks that are associated with a brokered CD. Just like any investments, you always have to deal with risk when investing your money. But for brokered CDs, the first risk is inflation risk. We've seen in the past 2 years with sky-high inflation, if you had invested in a CD that was returning, let's say 2% or 3% in 2020, well, inflation rose up to almost 5-6% during the course of the past 2 years. And if you've locked in yourself with a CD that is maybe going to last for 24 months, the returns on that CD would definitely not beat inflation, which means the value or the buying power of your CD will be less by the time your CD reaches maturity. The benefit that I mentioned earlier about brokered CD, which I said they can be sold on secondary market. Let's say you want to get some of your money out, or you want to get your money out and you decide to sell it. Well, like I mentioned, you can lose money, not because of the fact that you sold early due to maturity, before maturity, like you would experience with a traditional bank CDs if you are deciding to sell it before it reaches maturity. With brokered CDs, the fact that the value fluctuates over time due to interest rate could affect the value of your money. So as interest rate goes up, the value of your CD would go down, because you have been locked into a CD with a lower return. The next risk is default risk. Now, just like any loan that you can think of, if the person that has loaned the money cannot return the money, they can default. So if the bank goes bankrupt, well, that means they could write off your CD. But of course, like I said, you are FDIC insured. But the point is, all the interest you've planned on, or the coupons you've planned on for maybe the years of the duration of that CD, could be lost. Next risk is liquidity risk. If you think about this, when you want to sell your CD, or in this case, in the secondary market, if you want to sell it, there's a chance that if there's no buyer, well, there isn't someone interested. So that means you might be stuck with that CD and not being able to sell it. At this point, I'd like to show you exactly how you can find a brokered CD on a Vanguard account. Now, this is very similar to what you would see on a Fidelity account, but I thought I should share this with you so that you can actually do it and see the step-by-step guide on how to go about doing it. CD maturity, that's the first step here. So in this case, we're just gonna go with maybe 10 to 12 months out. And the reason is because we don't want to be locked into a CD that is going to be way more than 12 months, because we know that interest rates is probably still going to go up. And considering the fact that we know that interest rate is going to go up soon, it might even be wise to do nothing more than 6 months. So let's do that for now. So in this case, the rate that is being offered between 4 to 6 month CD is about 5.3. And down here, you can see the banks that are currently offering this type of CDs in this case. And you can see we have Bank of China, Matalon Bank, Tia Bank, and so many options. One thing to keep in mind is here for the Bank of China, you can see it says payment frequency, interest at maturity. So that means you would have to wait until maturity to get your interest paid. This would come along with your principal, which is then put back into your cash holding in your account. Some are likely to be paid monthly, like American Plus Bank. You can see it would pay monthly, but the interest is going to be 5.20%. And it tells you when it matures also. This will be January 22, 2024. So if you want your interest at maturity, you probably get more on the interest. But if you want your interest paid monthly, then you probably be getting less. In this case, the coupons paid monthly, you probably get slightly less, but it's still pretty decent. So we're just going to go with anyone right now. This is just a test. I'm not going to make this purchase completely. And then you can see you choose the amount that you want to invest in. It's in multiples of thousands. So let's say 1,000, and then we do that and we submit. But before I do that, let me show you one other thing. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show is the different CDs that would come with, let's say, a higher return. So let's do one that will pay about 5.5%. If I choose that, you can see what it says here. It says a callable. It says callable. And what does that mean? A callable CD means this is a type of CDs that can be, well, called. In this case, let's assume that you invested in one of these, and for some reason Chase Bank realizes that they cannot keep up with that rate. They can recall it and then pretty much just cancel the payment to you, and they will refund you your principal and the amount of interest up until the point of it being called. So if for any reason you're counting on this to keep paying you for the next 1 year, and maybe after 6 months they call it back, well, the CD will be terminated at that point, and you only get paid your principal plus the interest for that 6 months. So a callable CD comes with a slightly higher risk of it being called, which is why it's higher. It pays higher interest as well. But the same steps just apply. You can select it, and then you can continue, and you can submit this payment. And when it settles, the date of settlement will then be the date you start accruing your interest on this CD. The goal here is just to show you how to invest in brokered CDs and how to find them, and of course the benefits that they offer in a portfolio.